Now, on the off chance you've been living under a rock, you might not have known that Soulbound Studios had a class action lawsuit against them for the Chronicles of Elyria debacle. Now, I called this about 6 months ago. I said that the case would likely to be dismissed, and we got an official blog post today which says that last week the United States District Court for the Western District of Washington dismissed the class action lawsuit which was filed against Soulbound Studios as a matter of law. Now, this is very important. We're going to be diving into this today. If you remember, a few weeks back, I did an MMORPG analysis video called The Difference Between Pre-Ordering and Pledging, and how a lot of people who have pledged to a crowdfunded project were under the impression that they were pre-ordering a product, when in fact, they were actually just giving money to someone who was saying, well, we're going to take this money and in good faith, we're going to apply it to all of these things. But our terms of service allow us a wide variety of ways that we can get out of the liability of actually delivering a product by saying X, Y, and Z. And when you agree to those terms of service, you lose the right to do a class action lawsuit or any of these other things that you think you might have in terms of customer rights because you're pledging, and there's a lot of information in those terms of service that people don't understand, and they just click the button and go through to pre-order in their excitement to get their hands on a new game. I'm Tim Anderson, aka Renfell, sometimes known as the Bearded Dwarven Princess from Rings of Power, the MMORPG analysis series, Loto Tourism, Mondays in Middle-earth, and beyond. If this is your first time here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you get more updates like this delivered directly to you. To support like all of these amazing people here on YouTube and over on Patreon, wait till the end of the video because we're going to talk about it more. But for the meantime, let's dig into this announcement that they just put out on the Chronicles of Elyria website, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about the legalities of what went down. So apparently, we've got an update as of today from Caspian himself, which says this Q3 State of Elyria is, he says, I'm writing this at the very last possible opportunity on the publication date. Occasionally, doing things at the last minute can be the result of some very positive last minute news. This is one of those times. Last week, we got some very important news which changed my plans for this quarter's update. And as late as June today, I was waiting on news that could shape the entire future of the company for the positive. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's take these two big announcement updates in turn, blah, 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 blah. The most important thing is that the United States District Court for the Western District of Washington dismissed the class action lawsuit which was filed against Soulbound Studios as a matter of law. Now, he goes on to make some celebratory laps here and says the dismissal marks the end of an expensive, time-consuming, two-long-year journey which began as a pre-litigation letter in August of 2020 and proceeded through two different federal courts in two different states. The court decision to dismiss the lawsuit comes as a victory to both all of those who have or well use crowdfunding as a force of seed funding for innovative projects, as well as, most importantly, the backers of Chronicles of Elyria. It says, today, crowdfunding is just as often used as a vehicle for advertising and submitting pre-sale orders as it is for crowdfunding. But crowdfunding originally began as an alternative method of raising money in an otherwise tightly regulated investment market. It began as a way to kickstart innovation. Crowdfunding gave companies a way to work directly with their customers to raise funds for the implementation of good ideas, enabling customers to have a more immediate voice in what products and services they wanted to see in the market. When something was too risky for investors, when a company was too new or too experienced to fit a formula, crowdfunding allowed individuals to pool their resources, divide up the risk, and fund development in exchange for nothing more than gifts and promise of future goods. Should such development efforts prove successful, this is very important for the terms of service that comes with pledging. But for crowdfunding to encourage innovation, companies need to feel secure in the use of the funds they've received. If failure or even just delays mean they have to repay the money, then the obvious question is, how do you repay money you no longer have? Quickly negates one of the key benefits of crowdfunding. In other words, one of the key benefits of crowdfunding that he's admitting in his post, which hopefully everyone understands by reading through the terms of service that you all click before you agree to pledge your money to a crowdfunding campaign, is that in 99% of cases with crowdfunding, these developers are by no means obligated to pay back any of the funds. In fact, if you go back to that MMORPG analysis video that I did recently, most terms of service for pledging money to a crowdfunding campaign give these companies wide ranges of uses for the money that they have access to without ever needing to provide you, the pledger, any accounting, much less an actual product. As long as they provide good faith development updates that show that they are working towards something, that's usually enough to provide the court system with proof that the money was used in good faith. After all, you pledged towards the development of X. They were working on X. They made some changes, which some people would view as being a game called Development Y, but in most cases, it's just a reason to, well, we have to modify this for these reasons. And in those terms of service, 9 times out of 10, you're going to find verbiage that specifically says we are under no obligation to deliver, and at any point in time, we can change the deliverable of this product. And you give us the right to do that in exchange for waiving all of your rights to the money and giving us a free slate to do whatever we want with no liability. That's what people signed up for. It says here, at that point, crowdfunding portals devolved into nothing more than publishing platforms as the only companies that already have the means to develop products would risk doing so. Fortunately, the court decision last week sends the message that with proper contracts in place and clear communication, companies can feel secure innovating through crowdfunding and using the funds toward their intended purposes. Now, here's where the water gets a little muddied. What are the intended purposes? Because what most people are upset with Soulbound Studios and Chronicles of Elyria, is that when we got to the point where they decided that they were making the announcement that they were canceling development, people were delivered a technical demo that looked nothing like what had been promoted on Kickstarter. In fact, it looked far inferior to what was promoted on Kickstarter during the marketing promotion of what they were building with Chronicles of Elyria. Many people felt that they had been lied to, and they felt like, well, if you've used all of these millions of dollars over the past 4 or 5 years to develop this crappy looking tech demo, you have misused our funds. Where is our product? And that's when all of this sort of the dominoes fell in place, and people decided, or at least some people decided, that they were going to kick off a class action lawsuit. But the reality of the terms of service for most cases, and as is the case of Soulbound Studios as well, in that pledge driven terms of service was wordage that said they had no obligation to actually deliver a product at any given point in time. There was no deadline to deliver a product. It was, we are going to use this money in good faith to work on a product. This product could change. It could turn into something else. We may deliver something at some point, but at no way along the way are we obligated to pay you back your money, and at no point in time are we obligated to even give you an accounting of how we've used that money, because you, when you sign this terms of service, are agreeing to give us this money free and clear and take the risk factor that an investor would make. But as they say here, there's no red tape around crowdfunding because it doesn't fall through the same system of governance as typical investors, where you have to have accreditation and so on and so forth. So what this really means at the end of the day is that, going back to what I talked about a few weeks ago, pledging to someone is completely different than pre-ordering something. People didn't pre-order a game from Soulbound Studios. They pledged to a crowdfunding project, which gave them a huge array of ways that they could use that money. The documentation that they provided along the way, showing that they were actually developing something, contributed towards the court throwing the case out completely. It was dismissed. Why? Because the amount of evidence supporting the fact that there was actual development happening was there. It was a mountain of evidence. Whether you agree, or whether I agree, doesn't enter into the picture. We can argue until we're blue in the face that what they delivered looked like crap and wasn't what people thought they were getting. And you can also look at the game that they're delivering now. What is it called? Kingdoms of Elyria? That's not even an MMORPG. But what it is it is a product that has been delivered to people as a result of the money. And from a legal standpoint, that falls under the terms of service that people agreed to, because they agreed to fund something that could change along the way. And people understood that by clicking the accept button. So by clicking the accept button and giving that company money, they agreed to be bound by the terms and conditions, which said, hey, you guys can develop whatever you want. We understand the product might change. It might not even be something we originally signed up to give you money for, but we trust you to deliver something along the way, and that's why we're giving you the money. Very important at the end of the day, everybody, understand that pledging to a company that's crowdfunding a game is not the same thing as pre-ordering a product from a company that has an established publication date for that product coming out. Love to hear your thoughts. Drop them down below. At the end of the day, like I said, I don't agree with what's happened here for the people who backed, but that's the reality of pledging. That's why I tell people you should be cautious of pledging to crowdfunded projects because of these types of things. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to support like all of these amazing people here on YouTube. It's really simple. On videos like this, you can do a super thanks down below. You can also show up to live streams and do super stickers. You can join as a member of the Adventurers Guild. There's 3 different tiers of membership. There's also a Patreon page for stuff I'm working on with my wife and my brother, a fantasy world, book series, things of that nature. Check out all the things. Hopefully we'll see you in a live stream. And until next time, stay safe and don't forget to pay attention to what you're pledging to, ladies and gentlemen.